Hello everyone, this is Gamer1745 here of course, and we are going to be playing some parts of Iron 3 Black Ice, and we've got the audio on so you're hearing double, so let's turn that off. I hope that is now better. So we're going to spend a minute or two relaxing here as I sort of look around before making an episode, because I just spent about 20 minutes messing with my internet. Well, no, more like 30 minutes, so yeah. Okay, so looks like our fortresses that we built on some of these islands will be completed. That is good. We have island defense divisions, or at least some of them here, because they don't have mobility units, meaning the transportation units there. So not particularly good doing other things. They go very slow. Getting some of the air power up and going that we will need. Have moved some of the divisions here. I don't think there are too many of them. Maybe a few are going to end up in the Far East. And hey, Toy Jet is here. Very good. How are you doing today, my friend? As those have been watching, I've never played America before with either Hearts of Iron. Good. Oh, I didn't know you were in pain. Oh, I'm doing fine, except for internet problems that I just solved. But yeah, I'm doing fine. Didn't know you were in pain. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, well. We're going to have to go with MacArthur in command, even though Nimitz was... Not going to dig too deep into all of this. See about doing it. Okay, these are just the HQs. Do we have an airborne command to attach? Get a... Don't know how to use these like I never do. Oh, you got... Oh, sorry, man. That can't be fun. Presume you don't mean a motorcycle. That would be even more of a issue, but yeah, bicycle, yeah. Guess that stuff is... I don't know if it's more common in Europe than here, but hit by a bicycle. Though getting hit by a car is probably a lot worse. So yeah. Okay. Just attach you to fleet, I guess. I don't even know if I should be using these commands with. Yeah, not a motorcycle. Yeah, I figured you would specify that, but clean up some of this extra. Iceland Base Command. Oh, we have an Iceland Base Command. Who do we put in charge of Iceland Base Command? I'm going to go fairly low skilled. not expecting them to do much. Booked. Okay. I mean, it's just a single brigade. Can't do anything with that. Hey, Arno. Good to have you here. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know how much. I just would like these a little more orderly and figured out, but I don't know. Yeah, no, that ain't good getting hit by a bike, I'm sure. I don't think I've ever been hit by a bike, but I'm sure it would not be fun. Yeah, an air command here. Be a fleet, but no air command. Okay, well, let's make an episode here. Back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron Rees Black Ice 11.2. Now, just looking before starting making the episode at our production, we have a few what I'm calling like that one and some of these down here island defense divisions, and that they don't have, because these do have these are infantry divisions purely. These do have transportation units. These do not. What is the anti-tank? Yeah, so these with along with anti-air, because they're not going to move fast. So they're going to go sit on some of these divisions, and we're looking like we're getting before the war is going to start, which I'm presuming around December. We're going to have a 41. That is all of our fortresses done on these small islands out here. Let's try the place we can. I've upgraded. Now, this is historically incorrect. They did not fortify these islands. They didn't fortify Midway. Wake Island, really. There were some guns, but not what you would call real fortifications there. Good. Arno's also watching over on Facebook. Nice. Or on Guam. The reason they didn't do this is because of the treaty that the part of the London Naval Treaty was not to fortify these positions. And that included the Japanese, though I don't know how much the Japanese honored that part. The Japanese kept what was going on in these islands very secret. They did not, generally speaking, allow outsiders into these islands. So you couldn't commonly move there. Now, there were a fair number of people coming through places like Wake and Midway, because they were stops for the Pan American flights. They would leave, I think, primarily from San Francisco. These are the big flying boats. Stop at Hawaii, stop at each of these islands to get refueled for the aircraft. This is long. Not sure so much about Guam, but definitely out here would stop and continue on to Asia, particularly China. So And those were very expensive flights. I think, I think getting like near $1,000 or something like that for per passenger. They were expensive, and realize that's more than a price of a car or something. So that they weren't something that common people would just take. And it wasn't common to do global travel either, like, tourism type travel. So yeah, but still, anybody who wanted to could get on an airplane and check out Wake and Midway and whatnot. That was a bike accident. I don't know how many people ride or use phones on bikes. Somebody may. What happened to Toy Jet? All right, so we are unhistorically truly fortifying these islands. That included increasing, I believe, the fortifications around Manila. Now, once the war starts in Europe, the London Naval Treaty is just a dead issue. No one's paying attention to it. Everybody building ships larger, obviously more than you think. Well, maybe. Well, I guess with a hands-free earbud thing, sure, I guess, but I don't know. But maybe people are doing it. Maybe you Europeans are that nutty that we just do it while we drive cars. I mean, that's easy. I don't, but people do. Now, there were fortifications that were significant here. Fort Drum, in particular, was here. So, yeah. So we're going to have real defenses out in the Pacific. Like I was getting ready to say, it's not necessarily a good thing to garrison an island or something like that, unless you're going to garrison it to a degree that you're going to be able to hold it. And so don't, because what you're doing is you're just putting more resources, people, of course, but also resources into a battle that is just going to be lost. So those resources, and particularly the people, it's just a waste. Now, there is, of course, the idea that if you don't garrison at all, it's just a complete, show up. Because Midway is literally about like what we're seeing here. I think that's the great bulk of the inhabited island here of Midway. The coral shoal goes a bit more around here, but I think that is about it. So we can see that these are not really places to put divisions worth of troops or fortifications. Now we're going to do that, but and so if you just sort of show up, if you don't garrison at all, people can just sort of show up and take it over. Hey, Kyle, good to have you here. Now, Johnson Island, we have garrison. I don't know if it even had what is Palmyra. I'm not even sure if it had Johnson Island at the start had this much of a activity that we're seeing there, but we have done some fortification levels so that we can send out forces. So I am planning on putting a couple of divisions, or at least a division on each of these islands. All right. Since that is down here, I got to get my head in the game here. know what I'm playing. Military police, I'm getting more organization to the garrison units. That's nice. Oh, we're a bit ahead. Okay. Let's take a quick look at what's going on in Europe. Okay, so Germany is pushing into Yugoslavia, and Italy is pushing into Greece. So what probably happened was Greece sent up, which I've seen this happen in my games when I've been playing. Greece goes to war and to help out Yugoslavia, and sends up forces in there, which allows Italy to push in because Italy is often not prepared to fight there. Okay, airborne assault tactics. Yeah, we'll let that continue. Artillery command and control advance. The Italians have half of Crete. How interesting. Good that they have a port on their part. Okay, artillery unit combined arms and reconnaissance combined arms. Stop those that push too far ahead. Yeah, now we're going to do this. And of course, oh, they've also got Cyprus. Wow, Italy's being aggressive. Wow, if those aren't scripted, that's pretty aggressive there, Italy. Britain's pushing into a rebellious Iraq. Unit training director unit. Balls, okay. Additional range will be nice for landing craft. Useful, but maybe not highest priority. Now we can use carrier group doctrine and trade interdiction. That would be good. We're watching the crushing of Yugoslavia. Hey, Mr. Duck, how are you doing today? You'd like some metal? Certainly, we have plenty of extra metal. We have lots of coal, a decent amount of extra metal, a decent amount of extra rares, and a lot of extra oil. Okay, direct unit fire control. Training or whatever. I get tired of saying the scripting all of the versions of doctrines. Okay. Battleship, it'll be important. We are planning a naval war this time, unlike normal. For me playing Germany. Oh, I'm doing very good. Very good. The Greeks push back a little bit against the Italians there. Cut that little group off. sort of a stalemate out here. Desert unit training. Okay. Yeah, I guess we can let that go. Let that continue. The Italians are doing pretty good down here. They've now historically, well, they really didn't push at all in. They didn't take Port Sudan at all, or even get an even attempt to. But they did move in. Their one sort of victory was moved into British Somaliland and take it with not much of a fight, if I remember correctly. I think the British mostly evacuate their forces out to Aden, realizing there wasn't very many forces. It wasn't like that there was a significant garrison. There was a military policing type garrison situation. We are in May 41. So the U.S. is not yet at the war, in the war. We're just looking at the European situation. And so the Italians were able to push in and take this here. Now, I will use this opportunity. I know I've talked about it before. I'm going to call for the recognition of the country of Somaliland. It is a country that exists right now as I speak, or last I checked, that no one officially recognizes. Their closest decent diplomatic relations is with Saudi Arabia. They have their own currency. I don't know who prints it for them. Just so that you know, a lot of African nations, probably not South Africa. Well, I don't know about probably not South Africa, but a lot of African nations get European countries to print their currency. A friend of my dad's worked for a number of years in Sierra Leone out here. And the government contracted with a British printing firm to print up their currency. This was back like in the 80s, the 1980s. And it was shipped out to Sierra Leone. I don't know how well guarded, but in two large, cargo containers, the currencies for it. One of the cargo containers disappeared. Just poof, disappeared. Well, that had all of the high denomination notes in it. Like I don't know what it was, but let's just call them $100 notes, whatever the thing was. And it had some of the other currencies in it, but it was the main currency. And Sierra Leone couldn't readily afford to have more printed up. Not to more replacement currency, because they didn't want to do that, but different currency, because somebody stole, huge amounts of currency. So what they did is they made, I'm just calling it, I don't know what it was, but it was sort of their large denomination, something like the equivalent of a $100 note, whatever their currency was made non-valid, meaning it wasn't legal tender, even no matter what it said on the currency. So whoever stole all of this, somebody did steal it, it didn't fall off the ship, wasn't going to get to profit, at least in too huge of a way, for this. So for years, people had to walk around with large bundle, because it isn't worth very much anyways, large bundles of currency, because their high denomination note were not allowed to circulate. So it was like a $20 bill or whatever the equivalent in local currency, which I'm not saying it's worth $20 US, but their sort of equivalent was that and below. So people walk around like big fistfuls of currency, just because they couldn't have, $10, $100 bills that might be worth $20 US or something like that, or what, it wasn't like it's going to be worth $100 bills weren't, or whatever, there wasn't going to be worth huge amounts of money anyways. But yeah, so that's what I learned way back then. I learned, interesting, what would have happened if Japan wouldn't have attacked Pearl Harbor. I Hey Starstreak, how you doing? Um, well, it depends a lot. Would they have also still gone ahead with their attack on Malaya and Dutch East Indies, or not, or just not gone after the European powers, which have two major different settings there. But so I learned that like much of Africa's currency is not printed by the countries. They're printed, a British firm who also I believe was printing, the British pound and other things printed the currency. So I don't know who prints today's Somaliland currency, but it has its own currency. It has its own government. Has its own Wikipedia site, and it's had been known as British Somaliland. Now it was stuck together with Italian Somalia into just Somalia here, and of course it has become much of Africa. Much of Africa, I would call our failed states. There may be some are struggling to try to exist, but are failed states. Somalia is clearly a failed state. Canada prints. Oh, okay. Yes, cool. Yeah, I didn't know Canada did New Zealand's, but I knew that Britain was doing a few. I suspect Britain wasn't doing South Africa just because of the apartheid, and non wanting to interact with apartheid. So I'm suspecting South Africa did their own. But yeah, so it was stuck together and created as Somalia. Now, like I say, much of Africa is failed states. I'm not suggesting America needs to get involved in all these things, but I just don't know how much to say about this right now because I don't really mean to go into a long diatribe. But is it moral to allow for this state of being, failed states? And a lot of people go, no, 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 we should give them the money and support and whatever. No, the pumping support into a failed state doesn't make it a successful state. It isn't that they're sitting there in poverty, and if they just had outside support, just economic justice, they would be doing well. We can look at Rhodesia for an example. Rhodesia, declared its unilateral Declaration of Independence, and it wasn't exclusively white rule. It was they set up several tribal trust lands, which had a certain level of internal self-governancy that were sort of major areas of particular African tribes. Because there isn't just one ethnic group, and I can't rattle them off right now, of black locals that agree upon this. It's and they Mugabe and Nkomos, and I'm which one is Zapu and Zanla or whatever. They both start with Z's, and I get confused. But Nkomo and Mugabe were the front man for two different leftist, anti-white rule parties, but they were enemies of each other and attacked each other at times, and they represented two different tribal factions. So. And once Mugabe got in power, he literally kills lots of Nkomo supporters. So it isn't just black versus white. And so they set up the tribal trust lands. Plus, in the Rhodesia part of Rhodesia, if you had enough property, and I'm not exactly sure the terms of it, you can vote. So black people who did, now it was very, very few, and it was just a handful of black representatives in parliament, very underrepresented. I'm not going to suggest otherwise. So yes, it was basically white rule, but it wasn't based purely upon race like it was in South Africa. It was based upon property, which was meant to be that you have a stake in it. You know, that was an unsupported state that was flourishing for a while. So yeah, we can see in Africa these states. So is colonialism? Well, it's coming back from China, but I don't know that it's going to be beneficial from China. So back to here. So they get stuck together, and with the collapse of Somalia back, in the 90s, and the reason a lot of these nations do finally collapse in Africa is that they are propped up by outside forces, either based primarily in the U.S. or in the Soviet Union. Some are like Zimbabwe it was Chinese support. They've been in Africa for a long time. One of the I think one of the few Canberra bombers or whatever, the one Rhodesian one that still exists, is in China because they ship it back and it's some sort of war trophy in China. Boy 3-5 needs to create a better system to simulate U.S. war for getting itself into the war. Yeah, we are getting some of that going here. So you have both, the Cold War, both sides pumping in money and materiel to mainly to create what would appear to be, and please note my language carefully, national armies that could enforce government control, however good or bad that government may be governing the people. But with the collapse of the Soviet Union, you have Russia. Yeah, for a while it still supports, as Russia, places like Cuba and whatnot, because they are such strategical positions. And Cuba did send lots of things like sugar and whatnot back to Russia. But you have them unable to afford, and to some degree uninterested, in trying to run a global empire. And you have America going, well, hey, we don't need to dump money into the African colonies because you no longer have the threat of the Soviet Union taking over. So we don't need to continue to prop up these local militaries. So there's a huge cutback, and because there's the cutback, the countries collapse because their military collapses, their enforcement. So you get the whole Somalia thing that happens, and also there's famine and other reasons that happen. Well, during that period, Somalia breaks up, and it's still broken up today into 3 countries. You have Somaliland up here. Out here, I'm not exactly sure where, but sort of out here is called Puntland, which is a failed state. That's where that's where, let me say, most of the pirates that are operating against the shipping out here, and they're still happening. If you don't realize, this isn't making the news anymore. But they would always bring the ships into the port here, not really much of a port, in Puntland to wait for the ransom to be paid. And then you have Somalia down here, which is also a failed state. But if these peoples have similar cultures and languages, this is the one state that is least failed, shall we say. I don't know if it's a success, but now I attribute it to being British ruled versus Italian ruled in the colonial era. It could be other geographical reasons. I'm not sure. Plutocracy, yeah, some people want plutocracy back. Well, I'm not saying plutocracy, but it used to be in America, in some states, you had to have a certain amount of property to vote. Um, and it's meant to be that it's not the rich or the wealthy as is seen, because it wasn't in America very much, and everyone's vote was equal once you got to vote. Um, it wasn't very much property, but it was enough that you had a stake in society to choose who the governor's going to be. Luckily for the rich, poor typically vote for rich because they are thinking rich is rich. Well, they vote for the Democrats in America, which is the party of the rich. Republicans have never been the party of the rich. Republicans have always been the party of the middle class. Sure, there's rich Republicans, but if you look at the Democrats, the whole South was Democrat. And that the South, of course, was I don't know how much of a plutocracy, but it was very paternalistic, much more so than the North. The sort of hierarchy, the plantation system, the agricultural system, and there were small farmers in the South proper. There, with or without slaves, as in like, oh, hey, a small farm might have 2 or 3 slaves. Might, I say, or it might not in the South. There were a lot of poor farmers like that, but the overwhelming majority, not of people, but of agriculture, was going on in large-scale agriculture in the South. So it's a bit different, and so the Democrats have always sort of been the party of the rich that patronizes the poor. So it just depends on how you want to figure that out. So yeah, they tend to do so. Yeah, ideology is an interesting thing here, but so yeah, Somaliland was the one Italian success in conquering here, but we see them moving up into here, which there is a hard stop limit down here to keep stuff. If you allow the AI to have a connection between sort of Sudan and Egypt up here, you'll just get all of these forces withdrawn up into Egypt. So they've done a hard stop. So right now, supply into Khartoum here, if it can happen, has to come down through here. So Italy does have a chance to do that. So, okay, let's continue. Enough of me talking about failed Africa. Africa is failed. And I really, quite honestly, don't know how much. I guess we have to put it as politicians, because people can only pay attention to so much international affairs and international situations, because they've got their lives to deal with. And if their life isn't revolving around, things globally, what do the people in Montana care about what's going on in Burma, or what their government is doing in Burma? So I don't necessarily blame blame that on the people for voting for politicians who I guess that's just moving it to 1940. So right. Oh no, it's 41 here. Okay. Yeah. we can blame them for not paying attention to other gasoline engines here now, other things that their politicians do, and they still vote for politicians who don't do well running their responsibilities, shall we say. But I'm not going to blame the average voter on peripheral sort of side issues here. Oh yeah, we want to do this. Get both of those going, and we're so I don't know how much its ideology is. Oh, they put that back to nope, it's still at war here. Okay, is keeping things going in the wrong direction. Supplies from the Netherlands. I'm sorry, I want to support the Netherlands, but I don't really want to do that big of a support. I think it's maybe seeing that we need supplies compared to our. All right. Okay. Well. Down. Germany is surrounded. Once they take Belgrade, Yugoslavia will collapse, and they're pushing into. At times, they're pushing their rare materials. Sure, we can have rare materials. Okay, we're going to do a party rally. Yay for the party. Gold mining. We can have metal on. Okay, Division HQ. Okay, so Division HQs. Here we go. We could let it go, but we don't need to at the moment so much. We're not going to do any more. No, those we will. It's these we're not going to do any more of. Right now, we're going to just work on increasing our production of supplies. Okay, so Yugoslavia has been annexed by Germany. A couple of Greek units got trapped back in there, I see. Will they form the Serbian Croatia? I don't know. Like I say, it's been a long time since I played as Britain or one of the Allies, and I've never played as America before, so we're seeing what some of this is going to happen here. Okay, unlimited national emergency. Here are some of our modifiers to get. Tonight I've issued a proclamation that an unlimited national emergency exists and requires the strengthening of our defense to the extreme limit of our national power and authority. Does that sound a lot like what Biden is doing in America right now? he has used those sort of powers for the baby food formula in America, which is a little bit of a concern. I don't think that would be anything of that nature, but I don't know. Okay, so now we are fully in production here, which is a good thing. Yep. Not that I don't want to be, but I do want to get some of the reinforcements and whatnot going. Sort of copper too, who okay, you can have copper. Get that, and that'll free up. Those are coming soon. Submarine AA. Okay, so let's stop that. We've got our are increasing. We really don't need oil refining. We are more than enough oil, I think, in production rate. Now, I've not built just because of I probably overbuilt then historically, but I don't know if I've overbuilt then useful. The Navy up. Okay, let's start looking into uh, better aircraft. Surplus and armor unit. I'm gonna see Barbarossa anytime soon here. May, June. What did we just do? What was that? Oh, Cuba. Never mind. Little sort of pop-up thingy here. Okay, well, Well, I think we're going to end the episode here, not the live stream. Everyone who's watching live, we just hang loose. We will be back, but I want to thank everyone who's made it this far to the end. Really do appreciate you guys watching. Hope you guys are giving the thumbs up. That really does help. And of course, what very much also helps is just post, say hi. I like to know who's out there watching. It's really cool. It helps with the algorithm. So thanks so much. See you next time for, yes, even more Hearts of Iron. Okay, we will be making another episode here. Yeah, the Germans are still pushing in. Hey, Hoffman. Great to have you watching. How you doing? Thanks for all your support. Welcome back, fellow Armchair General. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough, yes, of America, though we are currently watching what's happening here. The Germans have taken Yugoslavia and are sort of pushing into Greece, with the Italians massively pushing into Greece and checking it out. But for everybody, I hope I earn your hitting like button. If you're new, hit the subscription. I just want to say thank you to everyone, particularly who posts on these videos. It really helps out so much. Oh, I'm doing great, Hoffman. Good to hear that you're doing fine. Yeah, I heard that he fell on his bike, but that isn't uncommon for a man of his age. I didn't see just what happened, but we could now. I think we're going to continue. I want to get good fighters up. I know we need to do these two, but let's pursue getting good fighters. This is the interesting where the action's happening over here in Europe. Okay. Canada. Okay, Canada, we want to help out. We're now neutral. We have a surplus, but that's going to go away. We'll get combined arms. Let's come over here. Okay, let's get. We are pushing ahead. We want high-tech fighters to fight with the Japanese. Yeah. If we're going to get anything that any more events that expand our industry, which I hope we do. Again, this is the first time that I've played. Now, the AI gets, even on standard settings, gets a lot of bonuses that the human player doesn't for some of these nations. So, yeah. I don't know how much we should be building on some of these. So, let's get developed. Let's do 20,000. Okay, well, we're going to wait to get 22,000 at least. That way, if one of the other pop-up demands for money show up, we can cover it. Coastal submarine classes, good. Don't know how many we'll build, but we might build a few. Okay, now that we have that, let's get our carrier prototypes. That's unusual for me because I'm only doing flying boats. And naval bombers first, but we're going to do carriers, get those guys. Maybe some thousand, or 90 some a day. Okay, Italy enforces conquer of Greece. Right now, looking like the Germans aren't going to set up the Balkan, and maybe the AI is not meant to, and the AI might not be having as many revolts, calculated artillery, as the player would down there. So maybe it's smarter for them to just directly occupy and own the territory down there. Okay, okay. Carrier prototypes. Yeah, we want to do flying. Those will be really good. You can totally see. Hey, impact easy. Let's read gamer practice. Any advice on ship compositions? Is CVLC mix still viable? Would you recommend a mix with DDs for sub hunting? Okay. Well, I've not played in a long time. I did play Japan, years ago now. Oh man, it's been a while. And a British campaign. So I have played naval-based campaigns, but I don't know how much it's changed because I know they have worked on naval. What I've done here is I've created 2 battleship groups. I've stuck a CVL, which I'm going to put in some fighters with them, just so that there is always, and there's this is the carrier. This is the carrier group here, and again, that Hornet will be added to the carrier group, and then the other one here. So they always have some air with them, just for lack of coordination. If I don't have airstrikes coming in from other ones, because the way it should be is to say, if the enemy fleet is here, you should want to have your carrier sitting over here and just doing carrier air attacks against them, and then send in your battleships into the sea province to have them battle it out. So that's what you want to do. Now this does put some carriers in harm's way, but it gives them always air cover, so that is useful. So that's what I'm doing. As you can tell here, I am not saying that I've tried it and I know it's going to work out well or correctly or whatever. So that's what I'm planning on doing. Hey, Ringo. That's what I'm planning on doing for my major fleet operations. And then light cruisers and destroyers. Probably add a few more destroyers to this carrier group, yes, to deal with subs. And heavy cruisers, few light cruisers, and destroyers for the battleships. So that's what I'm doing. I don't know if it's going to be the best or the most optimum picks for it, but no, we're gonna change them. No, limits can stay, I guess. Command of one of the battle squadrons. King was, of course, in charge of the whole navy. Halsey, yeah. Let's see, Halsey's. Yeah, I guess. Halsey, though, did want to. Yeah, we'll change that. We'll change that out. Leader. We're gonna switch this around. We're gonna put Halsey in charge of the battleship groups, and we'll put Nimitz in charge of the carrier group. So he, of course, was sort of Pacific Navy theater commander. And we're not going to do that the way this is sort of set up, because the land-based version of him, if we put him here, he'd just be a terrible leader. So we're going to leave MacArthur in charge here. So we might want to move. Well, we're not going to go to the Philippines. Okay. Well, we are in June. Okay. Yes, good. Okay. August, September. I think August will be in enough time. I'm just sort of hoping to when we come into the war, I'm presuming in December. Maybe, yeah, I was sort of waiting for something like this to pop up in a big chunk of money. 18,000, we can expand our factories, one artillery factory in Reading. Artillery preparation and training, that would be one of these, I think. Yep. Let's go over prototypes, and I don't have many or any yet, but we'll do naval bombers for when we do have them. And HMS Malaya is lost. I guess it's what, in the Mediterranean fight here, probably? Why is Nimitz available in the real world? He ran into the mainland to avoid any responsibility to attack. What? Yeah. Nimitz wasn't very high ranked. I forget. At the start of the war, he gets promoted over a bunch of more senior admirals to take the command. So he was nowhere in the right command level to be it. The only thing that I know that Nimitz was doing prior to the war in the Pacific was he was in command of the submarines. I don't think Nimitz ever commanded a submarine actually, but he was, and I could be wrong on that. I read the biography of him some years ago during playing the Japanese series. But he was very much working with the Navy in developments of diesel engines. I'm going to say around the time of World War I. So he was, and this is before they're even like put into any ships for the Navy. Smaller ships and submarines. But he's working to get diesel engines going, basically for submarines. He does a rather good job of that. Goes through some stuff. I forget exactly what he's doing entirely. But then during the 1930s, he is put in charge of setting up a base in Honolulu here, in Pearl Harbor, for the subs. And basically what he does is he has like zero budget. Oh yeah, hey, go build a base. With what money? Nothing. So he goes around to the Atlantic coast naval bases and scrounges stuff. Supplies, lumber, just basic stuff, and gets it put on ships and sent out to Hawaii. And so he is the one that builds the submarine base in Honolulu for the subs. And to my knowledge, and this is going off of my memory, how does your defense of the not much, nothing's really changed down there yet. And I can't send anything to Singapore until we're allied with the British, so I can't do anything there before the start of it, and I don't know if I'm going to even try. So Nimitz is sent out, he builds the base, and for a time, is, I guess, the equivalent of COM Sub Pact, which is Command Submarine Pacific. And he runs the subs out there. He, to my knowledge, is not running any surface fleets or commands. He was chief of Bureau of Navigation. Yeah, that's back. If I'm not mistaken, that's back in Washington or East Coast America. And so he was doing that kind of stuff. Um, well, we're going to see what forces we have, Arno, and what we can do. I just don't know. It's just still a mystery to me what we'll have available. So he nothing that I know of that he would have been held anywhere responsible for what was going on in the Pacific fleet wise. Now, Arno, I think what I want to do is I want to make sure once we get in, I want to send some forces very rapidly into British areas here in Africa. Hello. I'm going to butcher this, I'm sure. Kasvetli Sahin? I'm sure I'm butchering that. Sorry. Words I'm not familiar with. So I'm not against the idea of it, but I want to make sure I have enough. If I think I'm holding out the Philippines well enough, and if Singapore hasn't fallen, I might. It's a good idea. Love to keep Singapore in the game. So yeah, no, Nimitz is, now he very well may have wanted to get back out of being lost in the Pacific, as it were, with a command with nothing to do. Now that he's got things running reasonably well for the submarines, what more is there to do in the Pacific? Okay, let's grab. Oh well, let's see. These guys. What are these? What class? Well, I guess we'll just have to go with them. Well, I guess he's good enough. We'll just promote him up. I think I have. No, I don't have. Hey, thanks for following. Okay, well, let's grab a few of these light cruisers and send them down there. I want to try to keep. Kimmel was the one that was in charge of the Pacific during the Pearl Harbor attack, and he gets court-martialed. War to Mexico? No. We're following a basically historical start. We're not playing Conquer the World or anything. And there's no point in it. We don't need Mexican territory. Okay, Australia. We could use the money, so yeah. Okay, Kaiser Wilhelm dies, yes. Okay, Japan annexes Siam, so now they have that. Hello. Cool. Turkey is cool. I'm from California in the United States. Oh, do we give them money for supplies? No. More submarines, cool. Australia and New Zealand have been producing submarines. Hopefully they'll be useful in the game. And South Africa, an interceptor, sure. Yes, you can just scroll down. on the Twitch page there for the chat, and you'll see my link to YouTube. And check out my YouTube channel there. Lots of Hearts of Iron and other games. Okay, so now we have a surplus there. We probably see about keeping that, giving money for supplies. Now we're trying to build up our money. Ah, thank you, Arno. Yeah, because we're running out of metal and I'm hoping to. Okay, well, yeah, Germany's just got down here in Salonika annexed. That's going to be a supply problem for them. Italy's grabbed all this coastal region. Germany's grabbed that. Huh. Okay. We'll see how if this continues. Cool. Yes, English is a good language to know to get stuff from all over the world. Okay, now that's enough. We will invest in metal mines. Here we go. Money into that. Okay. We'll build up our metal reserve. Well, it's built up, but it'll keep us from going down. Well, I'm glad you can understand me some. Ah, okay. Another when I quickly moved my mod over, but we can see here from the headline, Roosevelt freezes Axis surplus. Yes, I didn't move the or Axis assets. Boy. So basically, because of the war in Europe, Roosevelt seizes both German and Italian assets. So it's definitely something that's not completely neutral. We'll gain a little bit of money, some supplies, minerals, or materials, I should say, and they'll get hurt a bit by this, and it definitely puts us into that. Okay, submarine class is good. That's grayed out. Let's come over here and let's do down. Can you add subtitles on Twitch? I don't know if you can, Arno. I know YouTube does have a subtitling function. And then you can do an auto translate. That's how I often, do for videos in languages I don't understand on YouTube. Use, okay. Bombers. We've got through much of our fortifications. Yeah, over on YouTube. I don't know that it does it for live shows, but you should be able to get the videos up that are posted up, and do the closed captioning. The CC, hit the CC button, and it should be in English, and then do over the little wheel, the cog button. Hit that for auto translate to presumably Turkish or whatever you wish to listen to or read in, I should say. Division HQs. Nope, it's this one here. Okay. Not that we have any yet. We're going to be cutting this close, getting. Okay. Well, let's send you out to sea. Rebase the carrier, so you're on this one. Okay, so now this battleship group has air cover attached. Let's get this carrier group, send them there. Good ship attack. Yeah, we'll maybe do it on a more one. See while the other ones go back to port. You rebase the carrier. Or they went to the right. Right group. Okay. Yes, I have a lot of Hoi 4 videos up, and I played a bunch. Most recently, I was playing with the mod, World Ablaze mod for Hoi 4. But yeah, brigade command structure. Grayed out. Let's do this. Get all of our aircraft up to do that. This carrier group still no, just because I haven't built it, still no, you know. Okay. I think I am going to move the Hornet, this other base down there. Hello, son. How you doing? That. Still no more units, but it will mean once we get some, a better, more functional. Okay, this is more than historically based. So we have the Hornet, the Wasp, the Essex here. Up here we have Yorktown, Lexington, Saratoga, Enterprise, and the Bellawood, which is a light carrier. And we have the Princeton and the Independence as light carrier CVLs with our battleship. We can carry more air wings here. This does have 2 air wings. This is, this is 2. Okay. That's 2. though. 4 was okay. So this is everything but the Bella Wood is fully manned up in carriers. So that is a ready to go fleet. Well, this is just the second carrier group, shall we say, is being organized here. Clicking through here, so we have 3 CVs, 3 CLs, and some destroyers, just sort of because that's what's available. We have a battleship group here of 6 battleships and a CVL, just to always give it some air protection, and similarly down here. We have it not exactly all the same, but so we more or less have 1 carrier group and 1 battleship group ready to go in the Pacific. And out here we have the Atlantic Squadron for the Ranger and some battleships here. Probably, what's the speed? Speed is 31. What are my speeds over here? Sounds pretty good. I just don't want to put a slow max speed 32. Okay, 31, 32. That isn't enough for me so to worry about. So what we're going to do is now we're going to move the bale of wood out of this group here. And they're going to go to there. The Atlantic Squadron here, we're going to take the Ranger out of it. And we're going to send that to join this group here. No, we've not declared war on anybody. We are the war is going in Europe, but and Germany is taking everything. But we are still at peace. We're going to wait to Japan to attack us, like historically. In our service HQs, that means the different services can talk to each other. Yay! At least better. Okay. Yeah, we'll get to fighter bombers. We'll get to bigger bombers. Well, let's see. Yeah, we can do gun turrets. That's a I years ago, I knew a Turkish guy who had moved to America. He loved America. I would say, generally speaking, Americans who think about it, quite honestly, a lot don't think about Turkey a lot. Like Turkey, we don't like your current president. We don't like your current government. I don't know what you think about your current government, but I would say we don't like your current president. And I don't like your current president. Don't like what your current president is doing in places like Syria, and definitely don't like what Turkey is doing in Cyprus. So yeah, but I think Turkish people are cool. It's just I don't like what your government's doing. AA cruisers. Do I even have those available? No, I don't have them available yet. So yes, I would consider them. I'm not sure what unlock AA or cruiser. That's just cruiser AA. What unlocks them? Quite honestly, he's playing as Germany. That normally doesn't come up for me much. I know I've at some point or another known what unlocks the class. Oh, A up here. Light escort cruiser roll 2, and heavy anti-air artillery cruisers at least 3. So we would need this. We're only getting to, well, we could have started at the beginning of this year. So it's going to be a while. We got to get this, and we have to get, I think we're doing light cruiser escort roll now. Yeah, light cruiser, we're doing that. So we've got to get this up a little bit more. Yeah, Ataturk is a controversial figure. He definitely moves Turkey out of the Ottoman into a more modern era, that's for sure. Okay. So does that mean there's a war going on here now? Okay, Germany just declared war with the Soviet Union, and Hungary and Romania are in the war. Okay, regimental combat teams advance. Well, very good. Glad to hear you're happy. Okay, well, radar, yeah. Let's get some of that going. It would be useful. So we're seeing the Soviet Union pushing into Germany because Germany did not have forces enough, at least along the border. And that's what. Yeah, I don't know. We want to be here, I think. Yeah. Well, no. Let's come over here and continue down the radar path. Really. Ah, paradox. Paradox, paradox, paradox. You refuse to do basic things to make your game better because you think you can make it great. But you can't make it great, so you don't make it even better. Yes, we would call it patriotism, but what a lot of people would call nationalism, yeah, there is American nationalism. Our general term would be patriotism, but yes, nationalism, yes, for America. With many, with I would say most, 3/4 of America, 1/4, 1/4, 25% no, but the other, yes. Anti-aircraft ammunition, that is here. Okay, stop that. Now let's look at, well, let's do CAG fighter focus, get our CAGs focus, and hopefully it was a friendly who stole our stuff. Yeah. They refused to script the AI so that Germany would set up with a good war script. Artillery, barrel, and ammunition. Let's continue moving stuff over to here, make these very effective, hopefully. Look at Romania is able to push into the Soviet Union. But no, Germany's getting pushed out of everywhere. Hungary's able to push because they've stacked up units along this border. Well, I'm sure at some point Germany will move a lot of forces there, but sort of a bit too late. When they script AI would act according to the player, would destroy the AI with ease. Are there any refugees in America? Oh, very, very many. Millions of refugees in America from all over the world. Okay, the Queens, I don't know. Spy ring. The spy ring was the largest espionage case in the United States history that ended in convictions. A total of 33 members of German espionage were headed by Frederick Fritz, Robert Deskun. I don't know. I probably heard it, but I don't know. Were convicted after a lengthy investigation by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Of those indicted, 19 pleaded guilty. The remaining 14 were brought to jury trial in the Federal District Court, Brooklyn, where they found guilty on December 13th, 1941. Just a few days after December 7th. On January 2nd, 1940, the group was sentenced to serve a total of 300 years in prison. The agent who formed the ring was placed in key jobs in the United States to get information that could be used in the event of war and carry out acts of sabotage. Right, okay, so we get a lot more counter-espionage capabilities. Most people in the U.S. are refugees from their own government. Well, if you look at it that way, yeah, America is founded by people who wanted to flee what they had before. Where they were, whether it was flee England, flee Ireland, flee Poland, Russia, Germany, wherever. And then we wanted to get rid of our foreign government. Oh, good, they have Sergeant York here. Cool. Okay, we would give them energy for money, certainly. Okay, Sergeant York debut. Sergeant York is a 1941 biographical film. The life of Alvin York, one of the most decorated American soldiers of World War I. It is directed by Howard Hawks, a great director, Howard Hawks. York refused several times to authorize a film version of his life story, but finally yielded to persistent efforts in order to finance the creation of an interdenominational Bible school. Okay. Cooper went on to win the Academy Award for Best Actor for his portrayal. The film also won for Best Film Editing and was nominated in nine other categories. The American Film Institute ranked the film 57th in its 100 most inspirational American movies. It also rated Alvin York 35th in the list of top 50 American heroes and American citizens, or American cinema, sorry. Okay, get until July 41, so just few days here. Okay, few days here we get national manpower boost. Sure, okay, lose some dissent, gain national unity. Okay. Yeah, we'll do this and CAG crew training. Will be under here. Let's do air interception. Do you know that armed forces will launch a new operation against the terrorist organizations you support, Syria. Well, I don't know that the U.S. supports any terrorist organizations in Syria. That is, give exiles France. I don't know who you're going against. Who the Turks are going to be fighting in Syria. I know they're fighting. It's a weird, mixed up war. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird, mixed up war. Okay, U.S.A. Af Reorganization. The air defense of the United States was divided into 4 geographical regions in 1940 that laid the foundations for the subsequent number of air forces when, in November, Army GHQ was activated and obtained full control of GHQ Air Force. The Chief of Staff, George C. Marshall, requested a reorganization study from the Air Corps. On October 5th, 1940, the Chief of Air Corps, Major General Henry Arnold, submitted, I think that's Hap Arnold, submitted a proposal for the creating an air staff unifying the air arm under one command. Okay, well, we can afford all of that, I guess. Get some manpower. Okay, IFF. Finish researching IFF. Okay. That is over avionics, is it? Yes, one and done. Okay. I think the remains of ISIS and some communist groups. Well, we don't support ISIS as far as I know, Kyle. You have the Armenians in this part of the world. I know Turkey, did an Armenian genocide. And you have still some Armenians in Turkey. And they could be considered a terroristic organization. You have the Armenians in Syria, and you have the Armenians in Iraq. So the Armenians, particularly in Syria, are sort of puppet forces to America, as far as I understand. I don't know that the Turkish government are going to attack them because there are U.S. soldiers embedded with them. And when the Russians, I almost said Soviets, when the Russians tried to do that with their mercenary forces, Trump just killed a few hundred Russians when they tried to attack us. I mean, Trump gave the orders to have them do it. So I don't know if Turkey's going to be pushing into this part of Syria. I do know they're pushing in here. I don't know if they're going to be pushing against Assad's forces or other rebel forces. Do you think Greeks or Turks are more reliable? Turks are doing in Iraq. Yeah. Well, most of the Armenian forces in Turkey had been communist because of the Cold War. The communists were supporting them. So Armenian politics are all sort of messed up too. Well, Turks are not Europeans, and I don't know. What do you mean reliable? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Are more reliable. I'm pro-Western over Eastern forces. So if it comes down to it, if you're asking who do I like better, if you're gonna, if Turkey, hey, if everybody's at peace, great, cool, I like everybody. But if the Turks are going to, if Turkey and Greece are going to go to war, I'm going to support the Greeks because they're Europeans. Hey, Eric. Wow, is Turkey attacking Syria MK2? I don't know MK2, Ragar. May have heard the term, but I don't know it right offhand. Last time Turkey lost several Leopards. Oh, yeah. Well, they also, some of the vehicles I understand were, well, yeah, they were Leopard 1s, not Leopard 2s, I think. Dressed up to look like Leopard 2s, I believe, from some of the stuff I read and saw. Okay, technology, IFF we just did. We could do bombing sites, sure. And we have some, okay. Still 2 forts, a building. I want to get more into these things. Well, May 42. Oh boy, we are. Way behind on things. Okay, 7th. There. Let's put the 7th. And I really, I'm happy to talk about modern, oh shit, no, I didn't want that there. Okay, move rebase to there. Good. Happy to talk about the modern situation. But I just, right now, don't think I know enough to talk about it intelligently. Just the current situation, what's going on. With Turkey and Syria and whatnot. There's a lot of detail there. And I'm sure I get things wrong right now. Okay, let's put Kimmel's and the Atlantic Squadron together. There we go. Now let's put you out at sea so I can base, because that's the group that I want highest priority to. Okay, you rebased carrier, good. Okay, destroyer crew training. The Middle East is a very complicated issue, and Turkey is part of it. I definitely have opinions on a lot of it, but to try to talk about what current situation is, fighter ground crew, I think I need to look into it a little more closely before just spouting off about it. Because look, this part of the world is messed up. You've got Armenians, you've got Kurds, you've got all in this area here. Armenians, Kurds. I know there's up here too, but Kurds, Armenians, Arabs, Turks, Shiites, Sunnis, Druze, Christians, the Maronite Christians. You've got all of that sort of going on. If you throw in, I'm going to probably butcher, but Erdogan's demand or whatever that the Greeks not fortify or not military occupy their own territory in the Aegean. Well, why are you going to tell the Greeks they can't put military weapons here? You know, that seems stupid and silly. Um, you know, you have the Turkic invasion and occupation of the northern half of Cyprus. You know, it's a real mess. And yeah, you know, we produce our own weapons with our own. Oh yeah, yeah. You mostly copies of other countries. You produce copies of HK rifles and such. I know at least some weapons. Oh yeah, no. Turkey is compared to what it was during World War II, which World War II it did not produce its own weapons, but modern day Turkey yes does. Yes, I know. Assad and Russia would be pissed off when Turkey would do military interventions. Yeah, but right now Russia is locked in a war. Can't really do too much right now. We don't need any more. We don't need you anymore. We don't. Yeah, well, you're not going to get. We don't. You didn't give us. Yeah, they're not going to give Turkey F-35s anymore. That ain't going to happen. Yeah, well, produce your own stuff. Yes. Um, so yeah, no. I don't know if who about buying F-35s from the U.S. You know, but the Turkey's behavior, I'm surprised they're still in NATO. Quite honestly, oh, Tobruk has been taken by the British. Yeah, well, right now, I don't see the EU killing large numbers of people. So I would have to agree with Arno. Russia's behaving much more badly right now. Yeah, well, he can align himself with Putin. Putin wants allies right now. Romania is pushing pretty deep into Russia. Okay, destroyer escort role has advanced. Good. Where is okay up here 41? Well, we'll let that continue. We're going to armor piercing. And I'm going heavy navy because it's something I normally don't do. Okay, we've maxed that out just to sort of be different from my normal German playthroughs. Oh, we could do medicine. That will help us out a lot. I think one of the more interesting conflicts that's going to be coming in the near future will be the sort of Iran-Turkey conflict. I think that is something that is brewing up pretty fast. Um, yeah, engine ground crew training. like Germany's starting to push back a little bit. They've retaken all of East Prussia. Okay, yes. Defensive plans. That is. No, that is here. Okay, I'll just call you Casvet. See you later, Casvet. Have a good meal. Okay, yes. Let's see here. I don't know, air landing. Yeah, these are things we want. They're useful, but I'm looking, trying to focus on things I'm going to be using early war. Um, I guess some of these here we could start doing some. I like talking about the modern world situation, but like right now, I'm just not up on the various factions in Iraq and who's supporting who. Kurds, Armenians, various factions. Okay, range finding equipment, that's under artillery. All right, and carriage designs. Well, heavy artillery brigades. Well, we're not going to use any of those right away. Are you leaving Starstreak, or are you just saying goodbye to Kess? Um, do active sonar for ships. That would be useful. We have even more. Okay. No, we're not buying supplies. We got plenty of supplies, and I can always make more if I want. This game uses way too much money that I don't want to just spend it. Okay, CAG pilot training. And para HQs. Yeah, let's do this. Oh, you're not leaving till the fat lady sings. Well, we don't have a fat lady here, so I guess you can never leave. You're trapped. In Gamer's twisted world. Okay, now the Germans are starting to push out effectively, it looks like. Okay, supply transportation. That is here. Good. We'll let that continue. Selling crude oil to Bulgaria, fine. Ah, pause. Okay, we now have another carrier air group here. Um, Well, let's just drop it inland for the moment. I want to see how big it is. Is it just, yeah, single group? You know what I think we will do here? We have this group here of sub-hunters. Oh, let's send you back into port, and yes, rebase to port. And patrol wing. Let's put you out to... By Hotel California, you can check anytime you want, but you can never leave, yes. Yeah. Man, it's hard to leave here. Where did we drop that? Is that? Yes. Most of you haven't been, but Ronald Reagan said at least once, if the Pilgrims had landed in California, we would have never discovered the rest of America because they would have just found paradise and wouldn't have gone anywhere else. Well, it's near to that as can be. And that's back when he was governor. California used to be a great state. Used to be not like Bible Belt conservative, you know, in the South or whatever, but they were sort of conservative types out here in California, sort of independent conservative types. Like, used to like cruiser crew training. Used to really be great out here. Like cruiser crew training. Okay, I know it's 41 right now. We could be doing more than that, but let's get some of our... Okay, we've got the CAGs doing their thing. Improving. Yeah, this is... let's do surface radar. You guys are building lots of subs. Australia's building lots of subs. They're actually completing those subs. Okay, light cruiser escort roll advance. For that, and HE ammunition for cruisers, it looks like. Okay, yeah, that's way too far. Let's come over here to capital and let's... Yeah, we could do AP and HE ammunition advance. And we have... Okay, all but one, and this is the least important, Johnson Island right now, have been completed. The fortification plan growth. We're getting carrier air groups done. I don't know if this is enough, but it's some to put everything into production or into the field. Well, not these things that are coming. Wow, we're getting some more CVs. Wow, we're gonna have a lot of CVs. But you know, I want all of that done and whatnot. But let's also get more land-based air operations going. That's very eagle's eyes of you, yes. Good one, Arno. You just sit around drinking beer and watch sports. I don't know. Australians have seemingly built a decent country. Now, I haven't been to Australia, but from the visuals, you know, from the various things, it seems like a decent place. Well, I think we're going to end the episode here, not the live stream, so everyone live can just hang loose, but those watching later, thank you so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. See you next time for even, yes, more Hearts of Iron. Okay, we will be continuing here. I will be back in just a moment with more fun. Hopefully fun. Almost back. Okay, well, July 20th, 1940. All right. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3's Black Ice, and we're getting ready for a naval war. We're going to, of course, be fighting on the land as well, but sort of naval early on. Now, Barbarossa has happened. At first, the Soviets pushed into East Prussia and some of the Polish territories, but Germany's now pushed out here. So we're seeing advances there. We'll see how this goes. Barbarossa. Okay, so we have our patrol force here for anti-submarine warfare. We'll see how much of an issue that is. What's the level of the attack? No. Defense, strategic care. Don't know. This is AI versus AI. And landing craft flotilla is good. Big thing with those is they're expanding the range. I'm not planning on building frigates, so we're not going to waste a slot right now. But let's see, we could. Yeah, we're going to need those as nice escort. Capabilities for our destroyers against air attack. Jungle warfare equipment. That is a one and done. Nice. We're not going to be doing any of these anytime soon. We're going to stick with some of the upgradable, like anti-air capabilities, but just oh, we also want to do here. Well, let's do anti-air, light anti-air first, then do what is, we push something too far, camouflage designs as well. Oh, well, tenacious defense. Okay, that's a 44. Extreme terrain. Okay, yeah, that will help us out in extreme terrain. Drinking beer is a sport. Well, I could see drinking a certain amount of beer and then trying to do something. You know, like walk in a straight line or. Oh. Oh, just want to make sure, yeah, we're not at war. Okay, this is what I was a little worried about a long time ago. Okay, well, prolong the Neutrality Act. Well, let's look at our popularity. Isn't well. We're gonna do it. We want that. Getting all that dissent is going to be too much. Okay, let me just clear this out, and then I'm going to talk a little bit here. Twin engine pilot training advance. Right, and the other one here, engineer unit training. Okay. Oh. Okay, we're pretty good on a lot of these techs. I know I could push into the 42s, but they're just probably enough. These 1940 techs, I want to keep my battleships going. Right. Well, as you can see here, Japan, who for a long time, and I was worried about it earlier on, oh, we're getting more consumer goods. Let's just go to need here. Has joined the Axis, and now they've presumably been asked to come in on the war. So now we're seeing them push down Malaya. These are scripted invasions. I do believe they're triggered with the start of the war. Looks like it. I don't think the AI is smart enough to do all these different landing zones. That was probably very much a scripted invasion there. Now, what if this had happened historically? I mean, PC game is kind of like a sport. Yeah, PC gaming is an esport. Hello, Boba Fett. How you doing? This is what, in essence, Japan really sort of wanted to do at this point. They've been cut off from the oil critically, but other materials. And they were running out of an oil reserve. They couldn't keep it up, keep up their level of activity in their war in China. Again, for those of you who go, oh, this is unhistorical, Japan has conquered China, blah, blah. Yes, we know this. We know this. It's just the AI is too stupid. The AI will do two things. One, they will strip every single garrison, so they've artificially made the garrisons forces way too big, way too heavy to move. You did air quotes there, but you didn't see. So that these islands are still garrisoned. They would move all the damn garrison units, including garrison units in Japan, and they would focus all their production on fighting the war in China. And if it was going to be historical, China would be strong enough to resist that. And then you would either have Japan just stuck in a war with China and sitting off to the side and not, so you wouldn't have the World War II experience, Japan going against the Western allies, if you will. So you wouldn't have that, or you would still have that happen, But without a scripted invasion, you wouldn't have any. You would just be Japan declaring war and then doing absolutely nothing about it, or you'd have these scripted invasions, but you would still have the sort of clogging up of production here for this war, and you wouldn't have shipbuilding and aircraft building for the Pacific War. So they make it so that Japan wins here. And if Japan had won here, they wouldn't need to go and wouldn't even want to go to war with the other powers. But, so this is sort of have to do to give this. But now we have this. What would have happened if this happened historically? Japan decides to come in and attack, particularly Britain. Japan believed, and this is very much like tonight. Don't quite. Oh, I don't know. Don't know exactly what you're saying, Boba Fett, but sorry, sometimes I don't get context from some of the posts. Again, warfare is a political act. Politics is perception. Japan perceived that if they attacked Britain directly, the U.S. would come into it. Looking at the very real historical connections between the U.S. and Britain, looking at World War I, they figured the U.S. would come into it, so Japan needs to attack the U.S. to sink the fleet. Would the U.S. have come into it? I think FDR could have convinced enough of the senators to declare war over this. Why? Well, now it hadn't happened before. One, America is still very much an isolationist country. We're moving back that way. If you people out there in Europe and other places don't realize it, but we're never going to be back the old isolationism, I don't think. But just because two people decide to start a war, or somebody starts a civil war, used to be America would jump into it for good reason when it's a Cold War, between the U.S. and the Soviets. But post Cold War, Cold War thinking has remained around too long. Got to get into every war. Some wars you need to get into, and that doesn't mean you don't sell weapons or don't help out one side more than the other, but intervention you don't need to do anymore. Japan takes over Indochina, partially to get its resources, but I want to say mostly to stop Indochina to being used as a supply route into China. Japan does very little, to my knowledge, in Indochina. They don't, unlike Manchukuo, they're doing huge investments. They're sending over some Japanese settlers to, set up farms and things like that. They're not doing anything like that in Indochina. They're leaving, to the best of my knowledge, and I'm sure I'm wrong on some of this, but they're leaving the French administration in place. I don't know how disarmed the French garrisons, I know I've said this before, you're told to stay in garrison. They're not put in concentration camps or prisoner of war camps or whatever like this. The French soldiers, they just stay in your garrison. I don't know how disarmed they are. I don't even know if they're disarmed at all. They're just told to stay in their barracks. And they basically do so. Not that they can't go out, on drinking or whatever, but they're no longer deployed as military forces. But my understanding is the civil administration they needed, to prevent China getting supplies. Yeah. And so now this happens, and it's very gentle happening. And America is not, the French administration, my understanding, basically stays and continues to administer Indochina. Now, Japan does put occupation troops there. There are some fighting with proto-Vietnamese forces, sort of armed by Americans. Very much armed by Americans, shall we say. I don't know where they got most of their arms, maybe from attacking the Japanese, but they were given some arms by the Americans. The Americans ideologically are not pro-colonialism over large indigenous populations, which is different than America, the Americas, North and South. We at least see it as different. Whether the rest of the world sees a distinction there or not, that's another case. But we can debate that some other time. Now, there is a difference between occupying large territories and occupying something like Hong Kong and Singapore. Hong Kong and Singapore were basically two uninhabited islands, or virtually so, that are built by Britain in this case, into a colony situation. And those kind of things America is not against. So if you go to somewhere, you find, whether you conquer it in war or you buy it or whatever, and you build something there, and sure, it very well in both Hong Kong and Singapore are mixed ethnic groups and not just pure British, but that's seen by America. I'm just trying to give you the American perspective at the time, as I understand it, at least. Are not seen as evil colonialism. They're seen like colonial outposts, sort of like America. They're trading centers, and it's different. And they see very much. And look, you got to understand this. Yes, there was the Aztec and the Inca empires in America. And there's some other sort of what we sort of call nations, large cultural groups with multiple tribes in them, in the Americas. But all of the Americas were in what we would call the Stone Age. You realize that when Christopher Columbus shows up, they're in the Stone Age, or if you want to call it the Gold Age, or I don't know if they even did much silver. I don't know how much silver they did, maybe some, but yeah, they made gold ornaments and such, so that is a metal. But otherwise, they're in the Stone Age. Yes, they have for North and South, because this is Aztec and this is the Inca Empire. The Mayans had an empire here that was long gone, like gone by 500 years or something when Columbus shows up. I don't know. And there's the some earlier empires, or large areas, whether you want to call them empires, but the Incas are down here. Neither of them had large common uses of the wheel. Okay, and I don't even know really if they used much wheels at all. They used llamas down here as beasts of burden, as domesticated, but they didn't have wheels with roads. If you look at their roads, they're often they're not wide like we would think of a road today, but they're wider than a track, but they have periodic steps in them, because they're not using wagons along them. They're using pack animals. We're under tin embargo, thus they couldn't really produce bronze. Right, yeah, and I don't know if they did copper at all. I don't know if they did copper. They may have. Ragar, trust me, there's details I don't know, but they're virtually in the Stone Age. They don't really have, the American Indian does not build even a primitive wagon wheel. They do, they have poles dragged by horses to move stuff around. The Incas are not using wagons. I think they use rollers and whatever to move some of their large stone constructions. Mexico City here is in a valley that basically is a swamp that they set up, build sort of artificial islands in it to sort of secure themselves from the other competitors, sort of like the story of Rome. It's a city-state that gets security and starts conquering its people around it. So it is a a sort of a waterborne transportation system, not wagons or carts, really. So, and they to the best of my knowledge, they have no significant domesticated animals. They don't have cattle. The cattle are import. Bovines are imports. Horses are imports. So I don't think they have any sort of cattle at all. I don't even know if they have pigs, because there are hogs in America that are natural to North America, but I don't think they have a domesticated pig. So they don't have much in the way of domesticated animals. I'm not even sure if they have chickens. I think chickens may be an import from Europe. And yeah, down here they have the llama as a beast of burden that's been domesticated. So a sophisticated Stone Age world in some parts. Other parts, we always, we talk about the Stone Age. Well, the Native Americans, they were in the Stone Age. They were flint knapping, to make flint knives and make flint arrowheads. They're freaking Stone Age people. And, yeah, I know it's sort of cool, and I saw some still photos, supposedly, I don't know if it's true, but supposedly some Indian tribe, or whatever you want to call them, but I'm going to call them Indian tribe here in the Amazon basin, that are still yet to be contacted, and they were like pointing up or trying to throw spears up. Somebody was speculating at the drone that was flying over that they were seeing. So they were seeing some sort of drone or whatever flying around, and these people, what's this flying thing? And they were, that was taking pictures of them, and maybe, I don't know, trying to talk to them or something. But, so there are, it's sort of picturesque, primitive peoples. Now, living in the jungle in a primitive state versus some of the modern slums. Now, some of the slums in Brazil, they sort of kind of have running water, but there's still a lot of shit everywhere, literally shit, just out in the streets and whatnot. So, yeah, maybe some of the really impoverished people here are living about as, it might be better to be a Stone Age person in the jungle. Might be, I'm saying. I'm not. But if you can move out of either the worst of poverty, it's going to be better than goddamn Stone Age living in Brazil or wherever. So to go, and now nobody wants to give up their culture, their language to a foreign conqueror, and they're not just going to change because, including changing of a mindset. It's a mindset change, not just here's metal. Yeah, the Indians, they loved metal knives and metal hatchets. They took to them instantly. To the best of my knowledge, seeing all of that, they never once went out and created their own iron. I don't even know if they even set up their own blacksmithing shops once they figured out. There are now, of course, and I say this because there are, as time goes on, there are tribes, and there are still some tribes here, and they're often, you look at them, you can hardly tell they're Indian nowadays because they've been intermixed. But there are tribes here that, by the time America is being formed in the early years, they're very Europeanized. I mean, they're wearing European clothes, they're speaking English. They may still speak some of their original language as well, and they're living in, log cabin type, split rail kind of stuff. The same type of housing that white people are living in, at the time. Just either late colonial or post-colonial America. And so, these Indians have a gradient of contact, but while they're still sort of somewhat independent, I don't even know that they're even, getting metal and of a an iron sort and reforming it into any new things, let alone going out and figuring out, oh, that's an iron ore vein, let me go get it and smelt it into usable iron. They never do this. It is a cultural limitation that they have. So either they become anglicized or they're Indian in culture and whatnot, in that they live, most all, and I've known a few, one good friend. Now he's mixed with white and Filipino, but very much involved with his tribe and whatnot. They're all basically anglicized. Now they may carry on certain language, certain his best friend was an Indian hoop dancer of very high regard, and I knew him as well, but more of as a friend of a friend. So they keep alive elements of their culture certainly, but otherwise they're anglified. Okay, these people, and so either they're anglified or they're Indians, and they don't. In the way they live, they don't, if you will, progress. They're not moving in stages to civilization. They either become civilized or they are living in a primitive Stone Age existence using rifles that they get or a hatchet that they get or whatever from the modern world. So this is a defense, if you will, of not just as in we didn't do a bad thing, we did a good thing. Yes, large numbers of people died, but people were dying every goddamn day of basic lack of medicine. Okay, people were dying because the harvest failed, because the buffalo didn't come, because of whatever. People were dying, and of course, if you look at the Aztecs, they did human sacrifices. And I don't know, they sort of ate the hearts out of it. I guess that is cannibalism, but it wasn't so much for dietary, food supplement reasons. It was more ritual, and it was just a few people, I think, that actually would eat the heart or something. But they definitely did mass hundreds or thousands in a day human sacrifices down here. So it wasn't some sort of paradise that Europe found and then destroyed. It was a either brutal imperial existence of one sort or another, or it was subsistence level Stone Age environments that the Europeans found. So they do a good thing by coming in and conquering. Now, yes, we can talk about some of the Trail of Tears and some of the bad elements that didn't need to happen. Absolutely. But you needed to hunt down Geronimo and his band of Apache warriors who were slaughtering people. You needed to do some of that. So yes, overall, Anglo and Spanish primarily. Yeah, there's Portuguese and yeah, there's some French, but basically it's British, and then both with the Americans inheriting the British and the Spanish colonial. We do a good thing, people. We do a good thing in our conquest and reorganization of the Americas. Yes, there are bad aspects that didn't need to happen, but overall, we on the balance of things, we do a good thing by coming in here and taking over. Okay, the Australians and the New Zealanders do the same. Okay, they find Stone Age peoples down here. Starstreak here is from New Zealand. He's not currently in New Zealand. If I'm not going to, I mean, he will say, but don't need to dox his current location, or even generally speaking. But he's from New Zealand, and we have a few regular viewers from Australia too as well. And I'm not saying, and you can see like Quigley Down Under and great, sort of cowboy movie set in Australia where the sort of Australian rancher is hunting Aboriginals. Yeah, I'm not saying that every single thing that they did was necessary for the conquest, like purely as a defensive measure from Aboriginals attacking. I don't know how often Aboriginals were attacking like a homestead in Australia. I don't know. I just quite honestly don't know. I know now. Sometimes it was in America. Sometimes it was a reservation. You can see sort of rewatched it, and I didn't like it as much as the first time, just because I sort of seen it before and it's sort of overdone. Not Tombstone, that's down in Arizona. I forget it, but the Gold Rush town series. Sorry, I'm blanking on the name. That had sort of basically been set up as by the government before they discovered the gold there, as being sort of a, not quite a reservation, but sort of a treaty land. So yes, sometimes the settlers had sort of been, oh, well, this is land that the Europeans sort of kind of said that is theirs now. And then some other settler would go, hey, this looks like a good spot, and just move in there. And then the locals that sort of saw that it is their territory would attack them and butcher women and children and whatnot, not just combatants. And yeah, okay, sometimes it might sort of kind of be, the Anglos pushing in, just generally speaking, but even when just large territories, areas that the Indians were migratory across, meaning they weren't like, because all land is sacred or whatever, and they warred amongst themselves over whose territory was whatever. They would come in and butcher settlers a lot. Men, women, children, everybody, butcher them all. Not just, oh, hey, if you have a gun, we shoot you back. No, they butcher, they mutilate, all kinds of stuff. Maori were heading the same way as Eastern Islanders, having wiped out large bird species and burnt down loads of forest. Europe's found tribes fighting over scarce resources. Absolutely star streak. Yes, I didn't quite know that they were going down the Eastern Islanders' path of overpopulation for the amount of resources they could do without the modern benefit of farming, both as in plants and animals, raising them and doing. That's sort of why Europeans are. Malthus, I often post because people talk about the world is overpopulated. The world is not overpopulated. The world can handle a lot more people. But if you were still doing, Malthus would be right, if you're still just doing hunter-gatherer, food-based kind of things, if you're just sort of kind of planting a little bit, but mostly, gathering food in the wild and then, hunting down the buffalo without, raising replacement buffalo. And yes, if America continued to cut down all of its forests like it did early on, just because they seemed endless early on, without replanting forests to reharvest kind of thing, yeah, we would use up all of our forests. But if we replant, and a lot of these trees take 20 or 30 years to build. Well, I'm older than 30 years old, so yeah, you can grow a nice big tree in 30 years. Now, not a great old huge redwood, but you can start regrowing those too. And so you just manage these things and you can deal with this stuff. So we definitely have the situation of war being fought differently between the Indians here in America than the Europeans. We want to see soldiers kind of thing versus other soldiers where they would do population warfare, take slaves, kill everybody else kind of warfare. And so yes, we needed to hunt down tribes that weren't going to peacefully live. Now, yes, we did also stick tribes into very poor living areas. Yes, it's not a perfect record. It isn't, it's a record of the people of the times. They weren't perfect. We're not perfect today. But the Americas and Australia and New Zealand, which America sees as a similar experience to them, are coming into an area of primitive Stone Age peoples. And in most of these, it varies a little bit in Latin America. Some areas are, like Bolivia, are more indigenous, if you will, genetically, versus European, where Argentina is like mostly European, and where like a lot of places like Mexico sort of comes from the word mestizo or mixed, is a mixed heritage, genetically, that it's a mix of European indigenous populations now. So it varies in different areas in America, and some of it is replacement of peoples, some of it is just intermixing of peoples. But as one of the guys I watch on another channel who's Mexican American, truly Mexican American, not a Mexican, a Mexican who was born in America. Yeah, he doesn't want to live in a teepee, because that's what, and if you see his face, that he is more, at least apparently, more indigenous people genetically than European, though he's probably a bit mixed. He doesn't want to live in a teepee or in a mud brick building, a pueblo or some sort of thing. He doesn't want to. He wants to live in a house with electricity, and so he is ultimately grateful for the European conquest. Again, he probably wouldn't. He'd probably be emotionally on the side of, the people that had bad things happen to them. But ultimately, it is for the betterment of everyone. And yes, people just don't like to be conquered. God, if there are aliens out there, and if you can readily travel between the stars, God, I don't want to be discovered. If you're discovered and then they come in and want to conquer you because they're going to uplift us, I would rather uplift ourselves and go meet them as opposed to have them come and meet us. You never want to be the discovered people. You want to be the people doing the discovering. So, but yeah, we may be living in what other peoples on other planets would consider a primitive state, and they need to uplift us, and we may want to fight against that. So yes, and this is all getting back to it. So the U.S. has never been comfortable with the idea of greater European conquest of, say, something like India, because they see it as a civilization, especially when the conquest happens. Okay, they don't have muskets. They're not building muskets. They definitely, some artisan, because there are some high-tech artisans that are working in metal in India, when Clive and whatnot was coming in and conquering India, could make a lock, the part of the musket, with a cock, and it's called a lock, that sort of lock work that you can cock it, all that. Yes, they can. There's a few that could probably turn out something like that if they saw a sample of it. But even creating spring steel that you have to for that kind of thing is a bit hard for them. So later on, after the Europeans are there, they do have some musketry, but it's all matchlock. Into the 18th century, they're making matchlock muskets because they just can't do the lock work locally on any scale, and even sort of high-end stuff. I don't know if you really can locally. So, but these are people that are working with metal. They've got sort of high-tech swords, but they're coming up against musket-wielding, Europeans. So they're a step down on technology, but they're not total primitives. They're not Stone Age people. And similarly with China, who also, even more than India, I would say, is resisting European technology. And like when America sort of shows up and knock, knock, we're here, open your doors to Japan, not to conquer, but just open your doors. They find a society that's working with steel samurai swords and other sort of high-tech capabilities, but they're just not up to European standards. So they don't see the need or the concept that it's good just to conquer them, like the British do in India or wherever else. But they want to see a certain level of international trade, a certain level of openness to international things. Absolutely. And so they see that as different. And so they're not terribly worried about what happens in Indochina. And this is, of course, happens only after France is completely defeated. Where Britain is a different case, and it would definitely include places like Singapore and threaten Australia. So I do believe, and we're all getting back to what would happen if this arrangement comes about. I do believe FDR could have convinced the Senate, and that's who you have to convince, the Senate to declare war on Japan, the Empire of Japan. And he would definitely hit the terms the Empire of Japan. And because the Roosevelt family had a multi-generational tradition of dealing with the China trade. So they are emotionally on the Chinese side of the conflict early on, not just on, there's a conquest by one over another. No, they're sort of emotionally on the Chinese side of the equation, just as to which culture do they like the best. The Delanors or the Roosevelts or whoever do have a China trade history going on, but that isn't enough to draw them into the war with Japan, and that isn't enough to get the American people in. It would be seen as a betrayal. Japan had been an ally in World War I. Yeah, it's mostly to try to pick up German islands sitting out in the Pacific, but still, and Japan had been an ally of Britain until the London Naval Treaty. That as one of the elements of it was that alliance had to be broken up. That both sides agreed to. I mean, they were dealing with the French and America and whatnot, but because it was seen that if Japan was an ally of Britain, that made the British fleet too strong. It was more focused on Britain, and that if Britain goes to war with somebody, then Japan comes in too, just because, and now Britain is. So you had to add the Japanese fleet to the British fleet. So a former ally coming to war, we sort of kind of understand that you want to conquer an empire, and you're going after China, but now you're turning on your former allies. This is just a bit too much, and I think FDR could have convinced the people and the government to go to war with Japan. Now, and Hitler probably would have been stupid enough to declare war against America at that point. The American resolve would not have been nearly as strong. My parents, particularly, my parents' generation, and my family is very much a West Coast family, so this may go back to my grandparents, or not all of them were born on the West Coast, but all of them lived most of their life in California here. So this may be more of a Californian thing than, nationwide. But my parents' generation, and for sure my grandparents' generation, they didn't hate Japanese people, but they were pissed at Japan. If you sort of get the distinction there. So they wouldn't and think badly about individual Japanese. No. But they hated Japan and what Japan did. For Pearl Harbor, they had not forgiven, and this is to their deaths. For my grandparents, they had not forgiven Japan for what they did. It's that visceral of a situation. It's significant. It's not quite the disdain that they had for Nazis, and they always had good feelings about Italy, but it didn't like the fascists and Mussolini, and they definitely, shall we say, saw the Japanese people as being an insular people that were propagandized by their government. So of course the people supported their emperor and the war party and all this stuff, but they just saw the Japanese people as being manipulated into their their aggressions against the world, shall we say. And so they didn't hate the individual Japanese man or woman, but they hated the government. They hated, any sort of, if you're a soldier, you're a sailor or whatever, they hated them. And it went deep. It went deep over Pearl Harbor. And yeah, it wouldn't have been that way had Japan waited 24 or 48 hours before declaring war and then attacking. Now, it might not have been a surprise attack in Pearl Harbor because the Navy might have put the ships out at sea, but all they would have had to do is put up, scout planes, find those ships at sea, and do a carrier strike on them and sink them. And had they done that, that would have been a very, very different reaction. Oh, Britain is... Oh, no, is this... What? Okay, why is this considered British territory here? This is weird. I don't get all this. Okay, well, whatever. So it was a visceral, it wasn't quite as, there's just disdain for Nazis. I mean, which is beyond just hatred. It's just, the Nazis are just scum. But they really, really did not like Japan for how they started the war. And that wouldn't have been the case had FDR got America in the war over Britain. So could Japan have inflicted enough casualties on the Americans to get them to negotiate a peace settlement? Trying to think of the right words there. Maybe. But I don't think it would be one that would leave the Japanese Empire intact. I'm not saying they still might not possess something like Korea and, Taiwan here, that they wouldn't, be Greater Japan, but I don't think they would have accepted a surrender that would have left Japan in China, maybe, and before when they were negotiating to get rid of the embargoes, my understanding is Japan was going to be allowed to hey, you just got to get out of China. You can still keep Manchukuo kind of thing, but you just can't be in China. And Japan, of course, that was unacceptable. They weren't going to accept a Japan occupying the Philippines. Now, and if you want to go, well, that was American possession, they're just going, no, the Philippines were scheduled to be independent in 1945. America very much saw that as a protectorship once they got the territory from Spain for eventual independence. Yes, America wanted to keep Subic Bay, and I don't know exactly where it was, and Andrews Air Force Base, which were both eventually built there, and before there they were thinking more in terms of Navy. And both of those were destroyed by a volcano, and the current Philippine government at the time America out, because they saw the negativity of having an American air base, and there is a negativity of that there, but they lost the good bits of it, the economic bits of it. So America has moved most of it's over to Okinawa, or wherever over here is most of it over our station there, or Guam, instead of in the Philippines. But America always sort of wanted to, probably maintain a basing or two in the Philippines, but otherwise they were scheduled for independence. Barring something extraordinary, it would have happened. So it wasn't so much that we wanted the territory, it was going to be unacceptable to us. So that's my assessment, is that FDR could have used an invasion like this to get America into the war against Japan, and Hitler would have foolishly, because that's what he does do, declare war on America and gets us into the European war. Japanese are going after some British heavy cruisers there. Mexico, okay. I don't know if you're live or if you're watching later. Post your thoughts on, would America have gone to war over Japan declaring war against, primarily it's the British. I mean, the Dutch do count, but it's really mostly the British or the Commonwealth. But I say yes. Happy to hear other people's opinions. Okay. New destroyers are coming. Good. We'll put them up here. What model of... Sims class. Okay. We're getting better than those old wicks. I'd like to get that up. You demand war. Well, we're not going to probably go to war today. Or no. Let's... Do we have any? Okay, we do have some miners here. Well, we're at peacetime, so let's send you up there. We're going to create... We're going to send at least 3 divisions to the Philippines right now. Okay, battleship crew training. Very good. Crew training. 41. We'll probably be back for those. More training soon. I just want to get some of the structural aspects organized up. Secondary guns. Not so much. Do some of this because we have enough, likely have enough time to upgrade our and produce more smaller warships as time goes on. Rebase. Hello, Ruthenium. How you doing? And if anybody's new here, please hit the subscribe or follow button. Do appreciate it on Twitch, YouTube, or over on Facebook. Okay, cruiser crew training, very nice. That let's do rudder. So we'll at least have some. Hey, thanks. We'll at least have some forces in the Philippines. Oh well, that's a different. Oh, you're too slow. Get out of there. Okay. You guys are slow. We'll move you down here. I think it's just Arno, but I hope other people start showing up there. Okay, okay, United Kingdom, yes, we will want to give aircraft to United Kingdom. Radar training advance. Actually, you could do tank radio communications. I don't know. We need at war, at war. Okay, so we need to be at war probably. Okay. Silly, but whatever. Radar training. That is down here, 1940. We're gonna let that continue. Find all these texts. Okay, now you get on. Yes, we wanted you to go. Okay, we want an thought there was a war command here. Am I just missing it, or first course? Oh, they're both down here. Damn. Okay, well, we'll have to come back. Okay, so we're gonna head back there. Let's yeah, let's put you on board. Don't know if any of these are really scheduled to be upgraded or something, but you come back down here. We want to pick up a core HQ where you rebase. To postpone investments in mines 6 months. Industry asks for more money, 450. Okay. Advanced armor designs advance. And engines may be what's required to do. Also, metallurgy. I don't know. I'm just expecting, and maybe it's just silly of me, but I'm expecting a bunch of like tech boosts and things to happen once we're at war. Because that's very much what happened. They just, turned on sort of like all industries, go, research, produce, design, whatever, more, new, better. Payment received, good, get some more money. Grants, money for supply. Okay. Back to there. Okay, so now, I think we're going to put in first core. Detach that. Let's put in first core on board the ships. Ships. Here it is. Let's send these guys out to the Philippines. I'd rather lose Guam than the Philippines. If I gotta lose someplace, so let's reinforce here first. I'm hoping to get all of these really soon. I know there some are coming very soon, but I just want to get some other forces out here. Just now that I saw the war raging here already. So I don't know if Arnulf will be able to reinforce Singapore once we get into the war. It may be long gone. Cruiser warfare. It was a good idea, though. Cruiser warfare. Island fortresses. Yes, we're definitely doing that. We've got these places, you know, fortress, pillbox, beach defense, coastal. There's a port and air base here. We've not gotten on this particular no AA or radar yet, but it'll at least be something. Okay, tungsten surplus. Ah, you're back, Casa Vet. That's what I think I can pronounce readily. Yeah, they will be. Yes, we can. We'll buy some supplies from you. Okay, submarine crew training. Okay, so we got a bunch of stuff. Just okay, 2 divisions. Okay, marine crew training 41. But let's see about moving that over to damage control. Yes, that's what we would prefer to have. Spotting advance, so we'll be able to look out and see things. You know, yeah, I know it's a 41 technology and we're ready to do, but getting guys upgraded. Okay, so a lot more consumer goods. Let's deploy these divisions. We'll put them up here in Santa Barbara. Okay. Well, too good of a general for this. We're not necessarily going to be on that much of a tropic island situation. Yeah, I know these are just phony baloney generals, I think. Well, let's go with I guess, a defensive guy here. I don't know if you hear it. Peacocks. I don't like peacocks. Well, these are the island defenders. These don't have any transportation units as part of them. So let's rebase first out to Midway and then to Wake with 1 division each. All right, Canada. We want to help Canada out. Motorized supports advance. Very cool. Yeah, we want to go after submarines real hard. Okay, well, what do we just... More divisions. Very good. More divisions. Almost 50. Yeah, I think Let's go to here. Nearabouts. We'll get, yeah, almost instantaneous, another 13. ICs. Now that our army is growing, we need more support for. All right, good. Okay, well, we're having a bunch of fighter wings coming. We have some carrier aircraft still coming. We need more carrier aircraft. Well, July 42. These are still going to take. These are going to take quite a while to do. Yeah, just some more land-based aircraft would be useful. Get that coming here. Okay. Drop these down here. I'm looking for defensive generals. Maybe just straight. Yeah. This is scheduled more for the Philippines. Okay, well, our transport should be back in a while. Okay, we're finally getting to get some destroyers pretty soon. These guys are just moving so slow. These guys are way out here already. Double their speed almost. We've got about double the distance to go. But I'm seeing we may want more. There we are. We want some more, so let's send these guys over to here. They'll come through the Panama Canal. Get them out there. Now let's look at the current situation. Okay, they're pushing into Ukraine pretty hard, pushing up along here. Not too bad for August, not too great, but not too bad. The British are moving into Iraq a bit more. And they're going somewhat historical here in North Africa. That's good. And Italy might just cut off supplies to Khartoum. Right now, it's getting sort of probably rough to get supplies up there. Okay, naval air targeting advance. That I believe is down here. We'll stop that and port strike also because I think start basically at the same time. An extra wide track. Okay, that allows. Good, we did that. Good, that allows us. We'll do medium first. We'll do medium and light, I guess. Right now, those being researched up. those yet. We'll get there. We'll be making some kick-ass armored divisions eventually. Capital damage control, that's a good one to do. Keep us from sinking. Japan is pushing down towards Singapore. You do have some supply base there. Some supplies down here, so they're getting Java pretty good, it looks like. Pushing into Burma fairly well. Not enough, but some air power. Go some light bombers. Bunch of stuff. Okay, tungsten. Now tungsten level 2 surplus, air landing infantry equipment. Okay, there. I know we haven't even done air landing infantry, but that does also help out paratroopers, which we haven't been building. Airborne warfare research. Well, we'll see about that. High density alloys advance. That is here. Grayed out. And gasoline engines. Is that the one that's... Yeah. Okay, so we've got good gasoline engines now. Well, everyone, in approximately 40 minutes, I will be live over on Slytherine's channel playing some Panzer Corps 2 1943 operations. I think that that's post Stalingrad, if I remember correctly. We'll be playing that. I've been playing a bunch of Panzer Corps 2 just on my own. I've been playing through the whole campaign series. But I'll be playing that over on Slytherine at noon my time in, like I say, in about 40 minutes. So if you want to join me over there, I will be streaming. I believe there's already somebody streaming there. They had to rearrange schedules on Thursday because of the release. Very good game if you're into Starship Troopers. There's the new game Starship Troopers Terran Command, an RTS bug killing game. It's very cool. I played a bit of it. So if you want to come and join me over on Slytherine, you can. But I'm going to take a quick break, eat something, get ready, get set up. So I'm needing to hit that on time. So yes, Arno is getting it. I'm going to be ending this stream. And I'll be back tomorrow playing War Thunder, hopefully with Arno and Starstreak. Starstreak has a new computer, relatively new at least. Hopefully both of them will join me playing War Thunder tomorrow. So anybody else can join too. We'll make room. So come and check. If we get enough, we'll do some custom battles. I'd love to do some of that stuff. But if you want to check that out, and of course, like and subscribe and follow over on Twitch and everything. Thank you all. I've been enjoying today and talking about culture, history, society, the war. So thanks everyone. So okay everyone, hopefully you see you in about 40 minutes over on Slytherine's Twitch channel. If not, hopefully then tomorrow. So thanks everyone.